In this video, we're going to talk about the ultimate fantastic structure for every scene in your novel. Coming up next. Hi everybody, my name is Dee Burks and this is Retirement Rescue, where we talk about how to make money, save money, and live well in retirement. Well, the last several weeks we've been talking about how to write your novel. Now, I've been writing novels for a very long time, decades, and I've been teaching novel writing for 14 years. So that's where this information comes from. Now, we already talked about the 10 scenes in a previous video, and I'll link that here. And we talked about conflict, which is what you have to start with. So if you're just starting out, be sure you go back and review those 2 videos as well. But right now, we're going to talk about the scene structure each scene needs to have. And as I talked about in the last video, we talked about the 10 critical scenes every novel has to have. That doesn't mean chapters. You could have several chapters that deal with one scene, but it gives you an idea of what percentage of the book should pass before your inciting incident. What percentage of the book should be the middle part of your novel, where you're letting them figure things out. What percentage of your book is the end? That is structured in those 10 scenes. So be sure you review that first. Now, when you get to each of these 10 scenes, each of these 10 scenes must have these 6 elements that we're going to talk about today. Now, the very first element is some kind of goal. Your character, your main character, your protagonist, must have some kind of goal. And in the beginning of the book, that goal is just going to be associated with their ordinary life. Maybe they want a promotion at work. Maybe they want to have a relationship. Maybe they want to be the best detective that there is. Maybe they want to prove that their parents are wrong. It'll be some sort of goal that's associated with their regular life in the first scene. But every scene has to have a goal. There's got to be something going on. There's got to be a goal. The second item, and it's the most critical item, is conflict. There's got to be a reason they can't reach that goal. There's got to be something standing in their way. There's got to be a person they're competing with at work. There's got to be an ex-lover who just won't let them go. Ugh. There's got to be something that is inhibiting, or they're perceiving is inhibiting, their ability to move forward. There's got to be some conflict. You know, maybe your character has the mother who keeps asking her when she's going to get married. Oh my God. Or they've got, maybe it's the detective who just can't catch a big case. They can't, they're not giving him big cases. They have kind of relegated him to the, the burglary report desk. And, he's very frustrated. So what's going to happen? So that character has to have some sort of goal and some kind of conflict associated that is not allowing them to move forward. Now, within this scene, there has to be some kind of disaster. They got passed over for the promotion. Their ex got engaged. A murder just happened and it was assigned to a junior detective rather than this detective because the boss is mad at him. There's got to be some disaster, something that happens that gets them irritated and very conflicted and makes them feel just terrible about their lives in some way or on some level. There's got to be some sort of conflict. So it's goal, conflict, disaster. Next, number 4, is a reaction. How is your character going to react? Are they going to sit down and take it? Are they going to go out and apply with another employer and just to heck with that job? Are they going to get on a dating site and start dating random people because their ex got engaged? Are they going to give up completely on their career? I mean, there's got to be a reaction to the disaster. There's got to be a reaction. And once you have that reaction, you have a dilemma. You have to have a choice. Forcing your characters to make choices gives interest to your book. If your character never has to make a choice and has an easy life and they're just going shopping, that is the most boring character ever. Ever. Actually, it's interesting. One of the people in my critique group, who's actually a New York Times best-selling author, she had this one character the entire group hated. She was like a flat paper cardboard cutout of a person. She had no depth, never had any conflict, never had an issue with anybody. It was just too easy. And that's great in real life. I mean, you love dealing with easy people. But in a book, it's not great. It's boring. It is boring. There's got to be some sort of dilemma. They've got to make a decision. Something in that disaster forces their hand, forces them to do something. And then, of course, once you have that dilemma, what do I do? Do I go here? Do I go there? You have a decision. You got to make a decision in that scene. Every single scene has that structure. They have to make a decision and then act upon it. And then you have the next scene. In the next scene, now that they've acted on it, you have a goal, you have a conflict, you have a disaster, a dilemma, a decision. That is a great structure. It forces you to put enough conflict in each chapter for each chapter to carry itself. Now let's take an example. Let's take The Holiday. It's been on TV a lot. Almost everyone's seen it. Kate Winslet, Cameron Diaz, and it's a Christmas movie. They're going to go off on the holiday, right? Well, in the very opening scenes of both of those characters, and we talked about the 10 scenes, so we're going to take scene number 1 for both of these characters. The Kate Winslet character, who's been working at this newspaper, doing very menial work, and she's in love with this writer, but it's all secret. And in that opening scene, Kate Winslet, I mean, you get a sense of who she is. You get a sense of her conflict. She hates what she's doing. She's in love with this guy. But then the disaster is, he announces at their Christmas party he's engaged. And so that really, forces her into a dilemma. What do I do? What do I do? She makes the decision to go on a holiday. What does she do? Let's take the Cameron Diaz character, the Hollywood trailer maker that makes the short clips for Hollywood movies. And in the very first scene, she's having a big fight with her boyfriend. He's accusing her of never being emotional, which is one of her main conflicts that carries throughout the book, or throughout the movie, I mean. But he's accusing her of being unemotional and unavailable, and she finally gets him to admit he cheated on her, and so she makes the decision to go on holiday. So, you know, every scene in a movie is applicable to usually several chapters in a book. But when you think about that, it has, and what you see in that movie, it has, for each of those characters, the initial goal, the conflict, the disaster, the dilemma, and then they make a decision. Okay? Every single scene is going to have that in your book. And one trick that I would share with my classes is go and get a wooden block, plastic block, but we used to use the little blank wooden blocks like you get at Michael's or Hobby Lobby or wherever that are blank on all sides. Take a Sharpie and write one of these words on each side: goal, conflict, disaster, reaction, dilemma, decision. Set that on your desk. When you are going through a chapter or a scene, a set of chapters for your book, you look at that block and figure out what's missing. Does it have all these things? Is it strong enough? This is what takes your book up to that next level, from just being a boring yawn story to really being a great story. You are forcing your characters into uncomfortable situations. You are giving them issues that are directly opposite of what they want. You are forcing them to make a decision and then act upon that decision. That is what makes a great book. Once you have that structure in all your scenes, your 10 scenes, and you have your 10 scenes, you will have a great book. So think of this like a roadmap. Think of it like a roadmap and use it that way. If you get to a point and you don't know where to go in your novel, look at your scene structure. Look at your 10 scenes and figure out what's missing, and you'll be able to move forward and get that novel finished. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, please click subscribe, and I'll see you next time.